Hi, everybody. Harry here to talk about a truly deranged, world turned upside down development in the Department of Justice. One of the defendants from January 6th, who stormed the Capitol, raised his arms in jubilation and triumph, and exhorted other rioters to kill police officers. Kill him, and was convicted and pardoned, is now rejoining the department as a special advisor to Ed Martin, the guy you'll recall who is as not just pro-Trump, but pro-January 6th defendants themselves, represented them, notwithstanding which he also acted on their cases when he was the acting U.S. attorney in D.C., the biggest office in the country, and a guy who just, you would think it's a movie where they've managed to slip in a domestic terrorist agent to the highest levels of the Department of Justice. But the plot twist on this movie is everybody knows it. It's breathtaking to anyone who knows not just the ethos of the department, but the personnel practices of the department. The FBI is the most demanding probably of all, in different kinds of situations involving conduct that could threaten the candidacy of individual nominees. The Bureau is the toughest, reputedly any drugs at all in one's background, for example, but my God, anything having to do with dishonesty, financial crimes, whatever. But my God, encouraging and being criminally convicted beyond a reasonable doubt rioters and insurrectionists to kill police officers, that person now is a high up, apparently the high up advisor to Ed Martin Jr. is just beyond breathtaking. Now, this is in Ed Martin's capacity. Recall, they were going to try to nominate him for the D.C. U.S. Attorney position. This is after weeks of complete bullying and nakedly political actions on his part. And this is a guy with zero prosecutorial experience. So it was especially crass and ham-handed and troubling, even too much for the Senate. So he was was Martin a very soft landing pad as the head of this so-called weaponization task force. So that is part of the whole, not just lie. There are many of them within the Department of Justice, but specifically Alice in Wonderland turned upside down, actual extolling of the whole January 6th effort. This is part of, in some ways, the most pernicious and nauseating aspect of the DOJ today. For example, the Attorney General fired 3 career prosecutors, not even probationary employees, but the highest level in the last week. And what did they do? They worked on the January 6 cases, arguably the most important cases we have that the department has had as an overall operation. Certainly it was the biggest. And, it's one thing for an administration to come into office and not share the same enthusiasm for whatever reason, but to literally kick the law enforcement people in the teeth and worse and fire them and elevate the others is completely sickening. Okay, but this is part of the weaponization task force, which is built on a lie. It's shortly after Bondi comes in. It's called Restoring the Integrity and Credibility of the Department of Justice. And its first sentence is, you must take immediate and overdue steps to restore integrity and credibility with the public and to ensure that these steps are required because, as President Trump pointed out following the second, President Trump, well, that's really a good authority. The prior administration engaged in unprecedented weaponization of prosecutorial power. That is a damn lie. There is not a single case they can point to where the professional steps of going through the facts and the law those and those alone guiding the decision whether to bring a case happened, whereas they've done nothing but, including in their personnel moves. So it's really, we're back to my choice from the start as the most important political thinker for our crazy days, and that being Orwell. We really are. Truth is fiction, ignorance is or whatever. And for people who know and care about the farm, it's totally nauseating. But now back to this guy. I don't know what has happened. If they have in some ways completely just eliminated the actual application process. I'm here to tell you nobody, and I mean whatever level, unless possibly if the president himself said, but the president, of course, would never, ever reach down and greenlight and say this former criminal must be added to the department. But, of course, we're in a different bizarro World 2 era here. But I don't know how it works. The FBI has to go through this whole process now, including this would be an immediate disqualifier. So does that mean that Martin, backed by Bondi, backed by Trump, have just said, this guy's okay and don't worry about it and just violate all our own normal standards? Or does it mean that the standards have been thrown out the window? And the standards, they seem like we're making sure that there's maximum rectitude, et cetera, with the FBI. But I mean, they really do protect us because FBI agents are subject to blackmail, and any kind of strike in their past can be leveraged. And, there's true national security reasons. But anyway, the notion that a former agent who was on the barricades saying, kill him, kill him, kill him, as people were attacking the police for around the Congress. There were various kinds, and breached the Capitol and exalted would be within a mile of any federal office or law enforcement responsibility going forward is, absolutely show-stopping, incredible, and it just couldn't happen without a complete reversal of all that had been in place until January 20th. So it's, Ed Martin is already poised to do damage, and this guy presumably, I don't know how FBI agents will ever listen to him or not feel like deep contempt. They really have, there's good guys and bad guys, and there are people who don't like law enforcement, and now he's exercising authority. That is really a recipe for tension, bedlam, terrible decisions within the department. Maybe Martin was going to make them anyway, but just what it says about the Bureau now and the DOJ that this guy could step up to this kind of position is really mind-bending. So much of what they've been doing there is within the four walls. We only find the reports that slip out, and the focus has been on public lawsuits. But here is a concrete example of the absolute evisceration of norms that have guided justice without fear or favor for generations, and now seem to be totally in the ash heap. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.